Hi there, this is Talia the dietitian, and today I'm answering a question from a member of Talia's table. This is from Alexis S. And the question is, we let our 6.5-year-old pick her breakfast and lunch, and she tends to have very little variety in these meals. How would we gradually change this without creating havoc? Now that's a great question. I think a lot of parents could relate to this, even with younger children. And so I've created 3 tips to help you make these changes. The first one, which actually isn't one of the tips, but I do recommend when they're older, like 6.5 years old, you can talk to them. And especially, I would only do this if they ask specifically. But if they ask you like, oh, I was able to do this and now I'm not allowed to, if they ask about that or that they seem to be having a lot of tantrums about it, I would calmly sit and explain it. Do it after they've had a meal and after when they're not tired or not hungry, and explain to them, yep, that's how we were doing it before, but whoever you're co-parenting with, we've decided to make this change and this is how it's going to work moving forward. And know that there will be a bit of pushback on that, but the most important thing is to be consistent with it after you've made the decision to make the change. So the first tip I recommend is remembering the mealtime roles. And I do have a video that goes through that in more detail. I will link it at the end. But remember that one of your mealtime roles as the parent is that you pick what food is offered. Which brings us to tip 2, which is I recommend giving options to the child when that's possible. It's not always possible because if you're making a meal that has 4 different components to it, and that's what's being served to everyone, well, that's the meal. But a particularly breakfast and lunch, or maybe breakfast and dinner, or whatever the case may be, you may be able to give an option of 2 to 3 things. And I don't recommend giving options of more things because that can be too much for a child to manage. And you're going to have more problems with that. So what I would recommend is giving the 2 to 3 options. So let's say there must be a vegetable at this meal. You want to serve a vegetable, and if you have the option to give 2 choices, let them pick which one. I have green beans in the fridge, or I have sweet potato in the fridge, for example, and let them pick which one they want. And if they say none of them, then that would be up to you to pick. Give them, a minute to think about it, and if they can't make the choice, then you make the choice for them because that's your job in the mealtime roles. And I do think it's really great when we can give them a little bit of autonomy and they feel like they are involved, because we want them to feel like that they have a little bit of control. So that is tip number 2. And tip number 3 is when there aren't options. So like I had said before, at not every meal you will have options. You might not have a lot of leftovers, or you might be preparing a meal that has all these components and that's what there is. So I do recommend in that situation is think about it if there's something that you can add to the plate. For example, a dip or a condiment that goes with that meal, and you can give them a choice between 2 of those. So I'll give you an example. The other day, I had given my daughters some leftover green beans and a few other things for an afternoon mini meal snack. My little one is kind of finicky with green beans. Sometimes she'll eat them and sometimes she won't. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna put a little bit of ketchup, tomato sauce on their plate. And they both girls dipped their food in there and ate the food. The little one didn't eat all her green beans, but she ate some of them. And that's really, really great. Because those dips and condiments can be a really nice bridge when we're giving a food that may be less liked, especially if that sauce or condiment is very liked. So that is tip number 3. See if you can add something on there that maybe makes it a little bit fun or a little bit out of the ordinary. And if you are wondering, what do I do if my kid just eats the dip? I have another video on that I will link at the end. This question was submitted by Alexis S. And she's a member of Talia's Table. Talia's Table is just like Patreon, where you can support the free work that I do to provide great nutrition information as a dietitian that you can get that helps parents for free. And I would love for you to join. You can contribute to the content that I provide on here by giving me questions and topics that you want to see covered. I will link that in the description. I would love for you to join. You can join for as little as $4. I will endeavor to answer your questions next. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found that video helpful. And if you did, please subscribe and like this video or share it with a friend who might like it as well. Thanks so much for watching. This is Talia. Bye-bye. I hope that video leaves you confident and inspired to try some new techniques with your kids.